What's good, y'all? Welcome to Conversation Piece, the show where we experience Indianapolis through the perspectives of all of its incredible people. My name is Patrick Armstrong. I am your host, and this is In Conversation With, our monthly live show. I got to shout out to our partners real quick, Draft and the people here for the beautiful space that you find yourself in. Shout out to Ash and Elm Cider for the beverages that you're enjoying tonight. And shout out to Tinker Street for the incredible food that you're having. Give them a round of applause real quick. These are all incredible local businesses right here in Indianapolis, and they're all doing incredible things rooted in community. Speaking of which, 2025 is the year of community on the show, and we would not be here if y'all had not decided to show up, whether it be for the food, the conversation, Chef Tyler, or some combination of the three. So thank you so much. You are the community that we've been building for the past 2.5 years, or 2 years that we've been doing this show here. So it really means a lot to me to have y'all here. And before we jump into the chat, we do giveaways at the end of every live show. So stick around after the Q&A and see if you won one of two $150 gift cards to Tinker Street or the Chef's Table experience, which I know you're all excited about, courtesy of Tinker Street. So, all right. With that being said, my guest today is currently the head chef of said establishment, Tinker Street Restaurant, having helmed the kitchen since 2019, and according to Google AI, is celebrated for his culinary artistry, commitment to local producers, and the signature Tinker toast of champagne served at every meal. Separate from our AI frenemies overview, I've known Tyler to be incredibly kind and caring, a person of intention, someone who has put the time and work in to get where he is in this culinary world, and who stands on business when it comes to that work. So we're gonna get into all that and a whole lot more this evening, so I will tarry no further. Please help me in giving a warm welcome to Chef Tyler. My guy. Hey, throw me that towel real quick. I'm pouring sweat. You want to share this towel? We can. Switch on up close when we're talking.
Up close?
Yep.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well, too. For folks that don't know, this is actually our second conversation. Last year, for the very first Epicurean Indy Festival, we were doing some conversations with folks that were part of that event, and we just happened to sit down with Chef Tyler, and we talked about a lot of stuff and had a really incredible conversation. I would later find out that that was the first time he'd really ever done something like that in front of the camera, and since then, he's done it multiple more times. So it's kind of a full circle.
A few more, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're coming up on the second Epicurean, so I think it's very fitting that we find ourselves here again.
For sure.
Well, if folks did not tune into that conversation, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
So my name is Tyler Shortt, executive chef of Tinker Street. I was born in Greenwood, grew up on the southeast side of Indianapolis. And so went to culinary school, worked at Patachou, where I really gained some knowledge about working under Chef Tyler Harold, how to work with local producers and purveyors, and how to cook seasonally. And then in 2016, I went to New York to do an externship at a restaurant called 11 Madison Park. While I was there, they were ranked number 6 in the world. And then the time I was there, I think it was 2 or 3 months after, they were named number 1 in the world. My cousin was second in charge at that restaurant, so he kind of shout out to my cousin. He gave me the bump up and got me in there. But I learned a lot there. And then 2016 in the fall, I came back, and I want to say it was a week ago that I've been at Tinker Street for 9 years. So I've worked my way up to be chef.
Hell yeah, man. Congratulations. All right. Thank you for sharing all that. And we're going to get into some of that. We're going to pull into some of your story. But first, people are eating right now or have already eaten and enjoyed this incredible meal, which I labeled on the menu as Chef Tyler's signature fried chicken. Yeah. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the dish that we are all eating. Why is it impactful for you? Why is it meaningful for you?
Yeah, I grew up eating a lot of soul food and Southern soul food. So I have multiple family members that make fried chicken, make greens, make mashed potatoes, and it's kind of like a competition really for the entire family. So this really is a kind of a combination of all of my family's recipes and then just my spin on it. And to me, soul food represents like being at home, being with family. So for me, the greens, my take on greens, mashed potatoes, also my take, and the gravy and the fried chicken. So, it's to me, it's very much me on a plate. So,
I love that. I love that. One of the things that really stuck out to me when we first talked was like the familial ties to the food and the work that you do. Why was working in the kitchen with your fam, like when you were growing up, such an impactful experience for you?
Well, we have quite a large family on my dad's side. And so a lot of my time was spent in Ohio. And I had a grandma that I think when I was like 8 or 10, she showed me how to make gravy, how to make fried pork chops, greens, everything. I wasn't really old enough to go hang out with all the guys. So I was, going to a farm on the side of the road, a little stand, getting snap beans, getting potatoes, getting, veg, and then going back home and me listening to, I would, in my mom's house, more R&B, but listening to soulful music and then just cooking and kind of creating the meal. And then everybody would come back and, eat together. So that was very impactful for me.
And you talked about like there being kind of a friendly familial competition with the fried chicken.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like you said, putting yourself on the plate, what are some of the stories and experiences that you draw on from those times with your family prepping food and being in the kitchen together?
Well, it's a lot of like, kind of shit talking and seeing who who makes the best. This is all right. This is okay.
For sure.
And so, it just kind of brought us all closer together. And I mean, like every year on my dad's side, we still have a chicken fry. So like October 11th is our chicken fry. So we're going to have thighs, breasts, livers, gizzards, all that, and fish. And, it's each year it's kind of a different person that takes charge of it. They let me take a break from cooking. So, and
like
also I would say that mine's better than theirs, but
Yours
theirs
is the best.
pretty good.
I was going to say this is a test
Theirs
run
is good. Yeah,
for the 11th,
yeah.
but like you're already kind of on the top spot. So, when did you first realize that like a dish could represent a person, like and could tell a story in that way?
That wasn't probably until 2016.
Okay.
So I never really thought that. I've been in kitchens, I think since around 2013, but I never really thought that like I could make a career out of it or that it could be art or I could really impact people the way that I thought about it until 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happened in 2016 that kind of just like, was that when you were in New York then?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was in New York. And then I really learned it also like, so we would have family meal at 11 Madison Park, and there's people from all over the globe there, and they would do, one chef would make like family meal for everyone from where they're from. And so I really got to see like what home cooking, like that meant to somebody to put on a plate, because they made those dishes with intention. So, and that was really cool to see that you could share that and that could impact, and especially because half the food I had never really had.
Sure.
So it was beautiful to see, and it was like, oh, this is how you eat. This is like normal for you.
Yeah.
So
was there a particular person, chef, inspiration that really stood out to you at that time as being like, oh, wow, this is really something different?
There was a guy, his name was Sabo, that was his nickname, Speciano. He's from Italy, but that was the first time I had ever had a cannoli and arancini.
Okay.
And it was fucking amazing. It was so good. So, like, I was blown away. And then the other prep cooks, they were from Brooklyn and acting like I didn't know, like, what a cannoli was, and were shocked. And, yeah,
Sure.
it was just, yeah.
Okay, so now that you know, what makes a great cannoli? I got to know. What makes it the best?
It's the crispiness of the shell. It's got to be fresh. It's got to be made that day. Can't be a little bit stale. And the ricotta has to be whipped really well so it's airy. and then I think like a nice crunch from pistachios and chocolate chips, and that's it. Like slightly sweet, a little acidity from the ricotta. Like it's just kind of perfect. Yeah.
What other dishes did you experience for the first time that really made an impact for you while you're out there?
Korean fried chicken was amazing. I had never had Korean fried chicken, and it was so crispy. And I actually, before Tinker, went into like a 2 to 3 week dive on how to make my chicken as crispy as Korean fried chicken.
Nice.
Rice flour is a huge part, but there's got to be something else. But also just kimchi and that. I would say Swiss food was amazing to me. There was a lot. I was blessed to be able to taste and try a lot of things. I got to eat my cousin knew a lot of the chefs and Michelin star restaurant chefs. So I was able to eat at 11 Madison Park like 3 times. I was able to go to other 3-star restaurants, and, you get everything, which it was just amazing and blew my mind. I mean, there's a place called Puyo in New York. It's a Mexican restaurant, and they have this corn husk meringue, and it was still one of the best desserts I've ever had. And I don't know how to explain it. It's crispy on the outside, creamy on the inside. It's all like white with black flakes from the corn husk being charred and folded in. And it tasted like sweet corn, but it was sweet. A lot of dinners like that just blew my mind that I don't know how to explain.
Hard to explain, even for a chef and a trained chef like yourself. Sometimes when you have something that's just hits you that way, there are no words. There are no words.
No, not at all.
So you mentioned a couple Korean things, and I've noticed that I'm Korean, but 2, I've noticed on the Tinker Street menu sometimes we'll see a Korean-inspired dish pop up there. Is there something in particular about Korean cuisine that really draws you in, or something that you just really love?
So we've had, I think one thing that I really enjoy to do and that I think is key is that we've had multiple employees and people in the kitchen that are from different backgrounds and diverse. So we've had 2 people that have Korean backgrounds, and the Korean fried mushrooms was his name was Eric, and that was his dish, and it was just a beautiful, perfect dish. And so for me, a key thing in the kitchen is collaboration, and that's something I learned in New York. I'm not a chef or somebody that thinks that I know everything or that I have everything that I do is the best. And I don't want to be. I am constantly looking to, learn and improve. And it's things like that from people with different backgrounds that, eat different foods, come from different cultures that I learn a lot from. And so that was his dish, and I helped him tweak it a little bit. There's been other things on our menu that, are other people's dishes, and I just help, tweak just because of the balance of the way acid hits your mouth, fat, all that stuff. So it really the influence comes from the staff itself.
Sure.
Yeah.
How does that conversation go when you're approaching a dish collaboratively? As a creative, I like to have creative control, but I also love collaboration. That's why it's a year community. But I'm interested in how that works in the kitchen, especially from a hierarchy of head chef to executives or assistants or whatever that looks like.
So Tinker is a little different. For me, I think that every person's palate is different. And so I think that it's key that if there is a new dish to come on, that everybody should try it. And then 9 times out of 10, and the few guys that have been with me since about 2019, they know that I'll say it needs more acid. And so, it's like, okay, why do you want to do this dish? What are you looking for? How do you want to plate it? Let's think about prep. Let's think about every aspect of the dish. You tell me why it's important to you, why you want to do this. Let's try to stay as seasonal as we can. And then for me, it's like, okay, how do I help kind of just give an option or be like, maybe we should try it like this. And then we try it that way. And then it either works or it doesn't. But it's kind of just trial and error, honestly. I mean, because I know how the dish should be composed. And I honestly don't know I can't tell you how I know that.
Sure.
I just know it for some reason.
Yeah.
But I know that it needs this kind of acid. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 different kinds of acid that hits your mouth differently, that breaks down fat differently, that breaks down food differently, that makes dishes lighter, that makes them seem heavier. So it just depends on what they bring to me or into the group. And then we will all kind of say, this could use a little bit more spice. Texture is a huge thing. You need some crunch in there as well. So it's pretty complex, but it's very much just like a conversation.
Sure.
And it's, where do you want this to go? What do you think about this? Do you think it, like, if we try it this way, how do you feel this? Like, does that lose the integrity of the dish?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for? Things like that. Which is a little different than what most restaurants and most chefs work, I would say.
How does that normally go, would you say?
I would say that it's probably mostly like, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
That's
terrible. You're out.
I
I've not watched The Bear, so I don't know what happens in kitchens.
I could only watch like a couple episodes, and then it was like, this is too real for me. So.
For sure. I've heard. Yeah. Okay, I heard you say acid like 70 times. Why is that important? Especially for like a quote unquote layman when it comes to cuisine and culinary.
Okay, so my collard greens that we all had tonight, I prefer a more acidic collard greens. My family cooks it with ham hock, and I would say the traditional Southern style. I choose to cook mine with red pepper flakes, brown sugar, and a lot of wine and apple cider vinegar. So you have the acidity, and you have the sweetness and a little bit of heat at the back end. The chicken and the mashed potatoes are very heavy and fatty, so the acid on your tongue and when you eat cuts through the fattiness. It's similar to like wine.
Sure.
So like you pair a nice cab with a fatty steak. That Cabernet will cut through the fattiness of the steak. And also you can't really drink the Cabernet by itself because it's very tannic and dry and coats your mouth.
Sure.
So it's like a perfect kind of pairing. So you kind of need all of that in play.
Okay. And you said there were 4 different kinds of acid that you're paying attention to?
Yes.
What were the kinds of acid again?
Ascorbic, citric, malic. I'm nervous.
The 4th one.
So yeah, the 4th one. Yeah,
That's all right.
Acid.
Acid.
Yeah.
It's acid.
Yeah.
It burns it. It burns through.
But they also hit your tongue differently too.
For sure.
So yeah.
When did you know like the science of it was something that you would be really interested? It seems like you are interested in that.
Yeah.
But like I don't know that everybody always is interested in like the intricate details in that way.
Not until after 2016.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah.
And that was when you came back and were at Patachu?
Yeah, when I was in New York and then I came back. And then, so I learned a lot from Tyler Harold, who was the executive chef of Patachu, all of Patachu. So I learned a lot and got to work with him at like Public Greens. I mainly was at Petichu and Broad Ripple and Napoli's.
Okay.
But learned a lot and got to meet a lot of farmers that way. But then coming back and working at Tinker, Chef Braden Kellner really helped me kind of like guide me with my palate and everything else. But I did a lot of research and read a good amount of books, more than I do now, but yeah.
For sure. Well, something about it like piqued your interest in it.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Was that the moment that, obviously when you're working in New York, it was like, okay, I can do this and make a career out of it. But was like coming back and having those conversations with them, like the impetus to be like, this is for sure what I want to do? Like, I want to do this here?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I had some opportunities to stay in New York, to go to LA or go to Chicago. And it was, I went to New York. I was in New York first, could have stayed, went to LA. My cousin was opening up a hotel out there.
Shout out cousin.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the commute would have been crazy.
Totally.
And the hours I would have worked. And then Chicago, kind of similar, but I staged at a Michelin star restaurant, and it kind of hit me then. I was like, okay, we get similar produce. These are the same farm produce that we can get in Indiana, and I just don't see people like using it that way, cooking with produce like that, cooking seasonally. And, I feel like if we had a huge financial backing,
Sure.
40 people to work in a kitchen, and then, all this equipment, we could easily do that and maybe get a little bit more following, but we're kind of the little brother of Chicago, so it's a little hard.
Sure.
But to me, I had seen some chefs here, especially when I came back from New York, really trying to do that. And for some reason, there was something that told me that I need to try to do that here more.
Yeah.
So,
I will say that was one of the things that really piqued my interest in our initial conversation was when you brought up working with and collaborating and sourcing ingredients locally. Can you talk about how you initially realized that was an avenue that was open to you? Because I feel like in New York, or in bigger cities, there are not many farms around that you can easily go to acquire something locally. Maybe, I don't know. But here it seems like that's a little bit more accessible. What was it that made you realize this is something that we need to be tapping into?
I think definitely working at Patachu and under Tyler Harold. I mean, that was his driving force, was really getting farm fresh produce. And I don't think that I really understood it at the time until I had gone to other places and gotten a little further into my career. And especially coming back from New York, there is a market in Union Square almost year round.
Yeah.
So I have a story where I had to walk 30 blocks with 40 pounds of butternut squash, and the chefs never told me that we had a wagon. And they were like, be back in 2 hours or an hour and a half. And I was like, yes, chef. And I'm dragging this huge trash bag full of squash from the market. But, I think I really got to understand what flavors were and just the differences. My cousin would bring me over and be like, taste this. Taste everything, try everything. This is local, this is in season, this is from a farm. This tastes so much different than if you were to get it from the store.
Sure.
And then when I came back, I started talking with Tyler Harold, Tinker Street, they worked with farmers as well. And then, I started just tasting things, trying things. And I feel fairly blessed to be able to work at 2 places here because I'm a pretty loyal person. I stay in one spot at a good amount of time. But to be able to experience that, because there's a lot of places that don't use local produce like that. And we've had multiple people that come onto the staff that are like, this is what a cucumber tastes like. This is what a farm tomato tastes like. So the difference is exponentially greater, and you also don't have to do too much to the food. In the summertime, normally we just have braised ingredients, raw ingredients, and then just use salt, pepper, oil, and that's about it. So you can really taste the difference. And getting to know the farmers, when you get to know them and get to see what they go through and what they do. Their schedule is worse than mine. So
sure.
It's harder than what I do.
Yeah.
So
why do you think it's important to establish those kinds of relationships? Like you said, you work at 2 places that do that, but the majority of them don't. Why do you think that's an important thing to be doing?
Because I think it's just way better for the world in general, honestly, for climate and everything else. The mass production of farms is not really sustainable, at least in my opinion. I think that we all need to learn how to eat seasonally because we should not be able to eat tomatoes in the wintertime. That's why they taste bland and they taste like nothing at the store. Yeah. Same with corn. You can make beautiful dishes still seasonally. And that's what I would say our ancestors would do. People that throughout history, there's always seasons. That's why there's seasons. That's why there's certain fruits, vegetables that grow during that time. Yeah. You need to utilize that. And yeah.
I would say, unfortunately, I live in a state that only has 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
Or allegedly 10 seasons.
Yes.
False fall,
yes.
Second false fall, stuff like that. Why do restaurants choose to not collaborate or connect with and source locally?
A lot of times they say that it's more expensive. But I could see that years ago, but now with tariffs and everything else, I work with a farmer who hasn't raised his prices since, I think he said 2017. So he's, if not more competitive than other purveyors and producers. It's also just more convenient because you can use a computer and just, this is the price of this, it's through this purveyor, add it in, food cost is that way. It's like that. It's quicker, it's easier.
Convenient.
It's more convenient.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
And you don't have to worry about, depending on seasons and how, everything is, you don't have to worry about, tomatoes were not okay this week, or we had a huge heat wave, we're not going to be able to get lettuce this week. So no matter what, you can consistently still get your product. And so, you don't have to really pivot, and this is what you can get consistently.
Yeah. But you talked about how, like, when you go to farms, you get to connect with the farmers. And we talked about at the beginning about dishes telling stories, like you being able to put who you are, Tyler Shortt, into that dish. Like, part of that is a through line through these conversations, these relationships that you build with the farmers. And I feel like to choose convenience is to forego that, and maybe sometimes your end product, the dishes that do get served at your restaurants, maybe suffer a little bit because of that. I don't know. Do you have a take on that? Do you think that's... Am I barking up the correct tree?
No, I think you are. I think it's definitely, for me, working with farmers also means that you're supporting local. And I think that, the local economy, and we need the farmers to have other, aspects in this world, honestly. So, making a dish that is, if a farmer tells me I have this coming on, this is great, or asks me if they want me to select a type of seed or want them to grow something special for me, then it's like, okay, that's awesome. And it also, like, it just promotes what we can do here in this region instead of just having another steak dish with fries and butter. I don't know. I feel like that's very much, steak and potatoes is very much to me what Indiana is, or pork tenderloin. And so those are great. Honestly, pork tenderloin is my favorite, but there's other things that we can, like, in Indiana as a whole can be doing. And there are some chefs that, do that around the city, and we need to promote that more, and also just teach people how to eat that, and you can get these products at your farmers markets and everything else. Yeah. So, it's supporting them so then they can grow their farms to where eventually, a lot of times these corporate restaurants, they don't buy from these farms because they also don't have the quantity that will sustain them as a restaurant or as a restaurant group.
Okay, so there's a little, so it makes sense in that way, like, because a larger restaurant is probably going to buy out the whole farm.
Yeah.
And then that will make smaller restaurants like yourself suffer a little bit in that way.
Yeah.
How many farmers do you work with? Do you get to collaborate with in terms of sourcing stuff?
It depends each year, and also like what we put on the menu. I think this was like 2 years ago, the most that we worked with was about 18 different farms and local purveyors.
All here in Indiana?
Oh, in Indiana.
Yeah.
And I want to say that about 75 to 80% of our menu was from those farmers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that pretty rare for a restaurant to be able to do that in the way that you do it? Because you guys are open like every day. Like you are doing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, like, sometimes we would have to, obviously, we may have a busier week. We have to order from these other purveyors, but we also, we use.
Oh my God!
I know. I had to confess.
It's all right. So, yeah. Well, you said 75, 80%, so there's also like 20, 15, 20% there, a little wiggle room. All right, so we're talking about collaboration right now. We're talking about like working with local farms. Part of collaboration and part of community, what we do here on the show has created this event, this series. Last month, we sat down here in this space with Jane Sun Kim, the festival director of Treese, and had a conversation. That was the first time that we had really been able to partner together with the restaurant. And as we kind of move into this idea of community, I want to bring the GM of Tinker Street, Jordan Ivory, up to share a little bit while he's making his way up to the front. I think something that is really central to what I want to build here on the show is this idea of community. And what that means to me is that we can create something that sustains itself, that's not reliant on institutional funding. So we're not looking to big places, corporations, to make sure we can go. We are sustaining each other because we are doing it together. So, as you are the one that spearheads a lot of these initiatives, leading from a community-centered place, I was wondering why it's important for you and for Tinker Street to lean so heavily into that aspect. Why is community so important to the restaurant itself and what you do at the restaurant?
Ooh, that's a deep question. Good evening, everybody. How we doing? Don't worry, he started warming up about me, and I was in the back, and my almost sleep come off the chicken, okay? Community to me, and the reason why the restaurant has to center around that is really around shared experience. When you come into our restaurant, Tyler's food is phenomenal, right? Was it phenomenal? Let's clap for it again, then. Okay.
They like that food.
He's been red all night, but I attempt every event to make Tyler turn red. Okay, so I appreciate you for that. But our food is phenomenal, but really our vehicle and what we're driving every single day is the idea of experience and hospitality. And Chef's real heart and soul of this is making sure that each guest walks away with a phenomenal experience and has had some sort of phenomenal treat during that meal. Through that, though, I think what is awesome for me as a general manager, now director of operations, is that the ability to watch Tyler flourish in a space where I'm supposed to manage and I only have to lead. And I think what is incredible is watching Tyler take the nuts and bolts, share them to the individuals that are across our line, and the collaboration starts from inside. And so when we're collaborating inside and we find ourselves in a pivot of needing more ideas, it's easy to look inside more and say, we've done it all. But Tyler pushes us each and every time to check out other places that are doing things differently and better. And not conventional restaurants, not conventional hospitality spaces, but places and things like this. And I think that for us, it's been very important. Myself, along with my assistant operations manager, Sarah Wicker, there in the back. Sarah, wave your hand. Woo! Is that we treat our staff with phenomenal hospitality. I think one thing that made me feel safe in community here in Indianapolis, my wife is in the building. Jasmine, raise your hand too. Okay, there's my wife, Dr. Jasmine Ivory. My wife really will fight me for this, but when I got hired at Tinker Street, I was looking for community, I was looking for employment, and I was looking for a way to fund a 300-person wedding. And so Tinker offered me an opportunity to be a host. And so I started at Tinker Street with Tyler as my boss. And so people make the joke like, you know, when this happened, what happened? Well, Tyler was in charge of me at that time, okay? And the way that Sarah and I lead is really through the idea of collaborating, but finding home for more collaboration with others. And I think something that hesitates a lot of people with our restaurant is the price point. What it looks like on the outside, what neighborhood we're in, who our staff similarly looks like, and then the assumptions of what we've been as we've been in business almost 11 years. And I think the big thing about being out in the open, is that for Tyler and I, and sometimes it's just me and Tyler, we also have Claire Baker on our events team. Claire, raise your hand and wave your hand. Absolutely. If you've ever seen a Tinker hat that Tyler and I are wearing, or a hat that Tyler and I are wearing, it comes from Claire's company, which is phenomenal. But we have hands that throw in even when this isn't their specialty anymore. And I think it's important for us to be able to have the ability to collaborate in ways to bring new experiences to individuals, but also show them that we're at the helm of this restaurant. And USA Today rated us in 2024 as one of the best restaurants. This year, Yelp named us top 100 date night in the country. Don't clap for these, okay? I'm very serious about that. I think what is really important is that Indianapolis Monthly named us top 25 in the city. And I think when local individuals come together and are able to sell out something like this, that is what it is about for us. And I think when Tyler and I heard that In Conversation was happening for the first time with Bodie, our first time knowing about it, I don't know if that was the first time. Second. Okay, second time. I was sad because we had a couple people sick and Tyler and I had to stay at the restaurant. And he was doing everything he could to get me out of the restaurant, to get to Bodie, to hear the conversation. And Tyler and I, heartbroken, we didn't make it. Youssef called us and brought Patrick and Taylor into the restaurant. And it was our first time really having an informal sit down with Patrick in that way. And I told him, I want to partner with you. I think you're an incredible human being. And since that moment, I mean, you've changed a lot of the trajectory of what Tinker's been doing lately. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Before I send you back to the back so you can resume your coma, I just want to say thank you, first off, for being willing to partner, for one, leading the way that you do, but also being willing to take a chance on me and what we've been doing here. Like I said, last time we had Jane here, and you, probably 2 weeks after, informed me of how impactful that specific event was. So you don't necessarily have to give away any particulars that maybe can't be shared, but I was wondering if you could just share what came out of that last event, because I think it's really indicative of the community and collaboration aspect that we're really trying to reach here.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm testifying up here, y'all, because I'm standing up, right? We were here and it was Q&A, and I felt like a lot of awesome questions had been asked. I come from a family where if the room is silent and somebody's looking for a question to be asked, you speak up and ask something. It was my parents' way to get me to critical think at the beginning, just in case I got called on or pushed to the front, okay, which happened a lot. And so with that, I think that truly being able to see the stillness and think about the things that Tyler and I want goal-wise in a room where there was an opportunity to ask the question that we wanted the answer to, which was, how can we better collaborate as a small business with something so big when we feel like we have so little? And I think for us, Tyler and I in our corners tend to talk about different ways and strategies to further our business. And this business is not ours, okay? And so it's something that we truly love and care about and feel very responsible for and are legally responsible for in ways, okay? And so I think for us, it's just the concept of asking the question and hoping to spark an answer that everyone in the room can use. And so asking the question, I asked, how can we partner? Jane said, well, heck, we're looking for partners always, okay? And so the conversation went on. She explained a little bit more about it. Through that, though, we ended up providing meals for headliners Mavi, Audrey Nuna, Shmino, and who else am I missing? And Trackstar, who are their headliners. We were able to also create volunteer meals for every one of their volunteers that we put together over like a quick 2.5 hour morning of just slopping sandwiches. We do it as a labor of love because we know it's very hard in the community to be able to feed your staff and put on something great. And when we have a lot of extra time, I would say, and the abilities that we can serve, we like to do it that way. And so having that conversation and not only sparked that, we've now partnered with Treese in I think 3 other different ways, and I've already been lined up to sponsor them in a major way, with them also being able to two-way support us for next year. And I think that for us, Patrick, the Conversation Piece podcast, In Conversation With, has not only further community for us, but helped create more integrity on why is a restaurant guy hanging around all this podcast stuff? And so I've been blessed to partner with Patrick, with Treese, with Stretch, who's in the room, and the Follow D Money podcast. And I think the ability to have these kinds of connections, Patrick, the way I rattled down all the ways that you made impact, because I felt like you were questioning yourself on that day, that we've got this and we've got this together. You're not by yourself. And I feel like in the early days of Tyler and I telling you what we wanted, you told us that we weren't alone. So I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Appreciate you, man. All right, you had your break.
How am I supposed to follow that?
I know, right? That means we're going to get to the easy stuff before
okay.
we make people ask you questions, which gets infinitely harder.
Oh, great.
All right. So, first off, I love that, man. I could listen to Jordan Ivory talk all day.
Same here.
I was wondering, before we get to this last home stretch, really quickly, if you could just talk about how impactful it has been to work with Jordan, who is leading from this community-minded, people-minded perspective.
It's been very impactful for me because if you all can't tell, I'm not one that likes to be up in front and likes to talk. Jordan has helped push me to, step out of my comfort zone and kind of talk a little bit more about what community means to me. And we have similar visions on, things in the community and how we want to impact the community. And so it's been truly a blessing to be able to have someone come in, kind of mentor me, help me, guide me, and also speak the same mission that, I kind of want as well, as a whole. So it's been beautiful. Honestly,
sure.
I'm very blessed to have him part of my life.
Amazing dude. Well, that is I asked you that because it's a great segue into a recurring segment that we have on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, where we ask our guests to shout out a person or persons that they feel right now deserve their flowers. So, Chef Tyler, who do you think deserve their flowers today?
Today, I think that Chef Youssef Boudarine deserves his flowers.
Shout out Chef Youssef.
Yes.
Usually here, but not today.
No, not today. Yeah, he's a busy man. Especially
Epicurean
this
Indy
weekend.
this Sunday.
Yes.
If you guys are available,
Right here,
11 to 3
yeah.
Fountain Square, right there.
I got the Epicurean hat on.
For sure.
So.
What about Chef Youssef? If you want to shout out real quick.
Just the intention of promoting diverse cultures, cuisine in this city, and promoting, uplifting individuals, small business owners. I mean, there has not been anything, I don't think, to my knowledge, in Indiana or Indianapolis that is like Epicurean that is happening, that's been going on. And so any way that, Tinker Street, myself, Jordan, can help promote, support, I mean, it's huge what he's doing and the impact on other people's lives that he's making, especially for people that may not feel comfortable. This is maybe starting to become their home, but is not their home.
Sure.
So making this, city hopefully become their home, I think that's huge. And especially to show people, to welcome them. And yeah, it's beautiful what he's doing.
He's an awesome dude,
Yeah.
and I apologize. He provided the dessert last month. We did not have one this month, but next month we'll hopefully have one. So if you keep coming, just know you're going to continue to get that elevated experience. So, well, I appreciate that. I got 2 more questions before we open it up to the audience. And again, thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
And I wanted to ask you, we started by talking about the storytelling aspect, the idea of being able to put yourself on the plate whenever you're serving, you're working in the kitchen, preparing something for someone. And I was wondering if you could share some words of wisdom, of love, of guidance, of something to young Tyler, who's working in the kitchen right now with grandma, with mom, with whoever, who's getting ready to get out in the world but doesn't know yet. He's just having fun. Like, what do you want to say to that Tyler from today?
Keep pushing, and to not be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. And you're gonna fail, but pick yourself up and keep fucking moving. It doesn't matter.
Keep fucking moving.
Keep going.
Keep going. And you're gonna really enjoy acid.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I got to close it
fifth
out.
one, right?
Fifth asset. We're going to find more assets. I'm interested now, so I'm going to be doing some deep dives. All right. Last question we ask all of our guests is, and this might be a foregone conclusion, but what is the best way that we support you? How do we support you? How do we follow you, do all the things that we need to do to do that?
I think the best way to support me and, is just support Tinker Street, the staff, anything that we're doing. It's very intentional and community driven. Support other local businesses, support farms. Again, I'm not going to give out my social like the first podcast, but
They didn't even know that.
Oh.
We cut it out.
Okay. But yeah, so I think that just supporting local and, local farms, farmers, artisans, purveyors, creameries, anything like that. I mean, that is huge to me. Supporting Junior Chefs Academy, things like that. That those things that impact community really
For
is
sure.
the best way to support and help with us.
I love it. Give it up one more time for Chef Tyler, everybody. All right, we're going to open it up to questions from the audience. Mike, cut that camera off so we can save some storage space. All right, y'all. Anybody have a question that wants to kick it off? Yeah.